Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and thank you so much for joining me today. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about some pieces of technology and websites you can use to really enhance your digital marketing. We're going to talk about sites that will help you create content, measure your data analytics, some CMS sites, which is content management systems, organization websites, and I'm going to give you a top 10 list of the sites I personally use for all of my digital marketing. So to start out today's episode, I just want to remind you that if you're not already, please subscribe to this podcast. We post new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And write a review down below so that I can know what you guys think of the podcast. If there are specific things you want me to talk about, I often take a lot of inspiration from the reviews. So definitely write one down below or connect through social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have all of the social media sites. So definitely go connect over there because I love talking to you guys off of the podcast as well. So now to start off today's podcast, let's talk about what is new in the marketing world. I always love to give you guys a bit of an update as to which companies are hiring who, which one is rolling out new marketing strategies, and just sort of a general overview as to what is happening in the marketing world, because we all know that it changes every day, especially when we look at some of the really big players like Disney and Hallmark and Starbucks. They are constantly making changes to their marketing strategy. So we constantly want to watch them and figure out what is new with them and what is happening in their world. Our first story of today is that Wunderman Thompson has hired Naomi Troney as their global marketing chief. So she is going to be their new growth leader for all of their marketing products. So for those of you that don't know, Wunderman Thompson is a global digital agency with over 200 offices in 70 different markets, and their headquarters are in New York City, which I think is the coolest thing because I love New York. But Wunderman Thompson is definitely a very big player in digital marketing. So very interesting that they have pulled Naomi Troney over to run their global marketing strategies because she was the Chief Growth Marketing Officer at MullenLowe Group since 2014. So she had been with them for a very long time. The Wunderman Thompson global CEO, Mel Edwards, said, during her time there, she has delivered major new business wins and also led the global rebranding and interrogation of the MullenLowe Group network following the merger of Mullen with Lowe and Partners in 2016. So I'm really excited to see what she is going to do with the Wunderman Thompson brand, and I'm going to really look forward to what marketing they're going to be producing over the next couple of years with this change of direction. In other news, a story that I've been following very closely is what will Netflix be doing now that Disney Plus is, taking a lot of their content that they obviously already owned, but Netflix was using a lot of Disney shows, a lot of Disney movies, including like the Marvel movies and all of those other Disney entities that you might not realize Disney owned. They took them all, and also they're producing more content, so I've been really curious to see what Netflix was going to do to sort of stay number one, because Netflix has been the number one streaming service for a long time now. Well, it is expected that Netflix will spend $17 billion on content this year. BMO Capital anticipates that Netflix will continue investing heavily in content as the decade unfolds, projecting the company's content budget will increase to $26 billion by 2028. And that is so interesting because if anyone watched The Irishman, I don't know where the budget for that movie went. Probably just all towards Robert De Niro, because I'm not going to lie, I didn't like it. This isn't an entertainment podcast, so I won't get into why I didn't like it. But let me just say I did not like it. Anyways, very interesting to see that I think the way Netflix will be going in this direction is just to create their own content rather than buy content from other networks and other companies, because as I've talked about before, Netflix has now also lost Friends, and they apparently will be losing The Office. So they're going to have to give us something to look forward to here if they want us to stay interested and stay involved and stay subscribed to their streaming service, because already I'm sort of like, if they get rid of The Office, I don't have a reason to stay subscribed to Netflix. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of years. I'm really interested to see where that budget will be going and how they're going to be marketing their new revenue and how they're going to be marketing their new shows, because obviously a lot of marketing dollars is going to have to go behind those new shows to make us want to watch them. Our third story is that U.S. consumers have spent more than 85 million hours on TikTok in 2019, up from $15 million during the same time last year. So for those of you that don't know, I talk a lot about social media on this show, and I've often said that, we're kind of waiting to see if TikTok will stand the test of time. A similar product that came out was Vine, and Vine seemed like it was a really big deal and that everyone would be using it, and then immediately it wasn't, and it was gone, and no one remembered it anymore. Well, that's not true. Everyone remembers Vine, but I think a lot of people remember Vine as being a bit of a failure, considering just how quickly it was here and then gone. So it's very interesting to see that TikTok, which is a very similar format to Vine, is standing the test of time and is quickly becoming one of the fastest growing social media sites to date. So very interesting also to read in a report that 8 out of 10 minutes spent on TikTok came from China. India was second with the largest group of users on the app, and the U.S. was third. Looks like Canada didn't make the top 3. I'm from Canada and I don't use TikTok at all, so maybe that's why Canadians just don't have the patience for TikTok, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on TikTok where I try it for the first time and I review some of the content that's on there, because perhaps this will become a new part of the whole digital marketing world. As of right now, it's not. As of right now, it really is just for entertainment value, but so was Instagram, and now Instagram is a huge tool for digital marketing. So let's keep a close eye on TikTok and see what happens in the future. What do you think of TikTok growing so fast and so quickly? Does your company use TikTok? Are you guys considering it maybe as a digital marketing tool? Or are you like me and you're waiting to see if it fails before you sign up and really dig into it? Because it is a time-consuming product. Instagram is also, but Instagram can be a little bit more, you post it and you leave. TikTok, you have to create a lot of content to go with just one single post. So it is very interesting, and it will be very interesting for me to test it out in future episodes. So stay tuned for that. But what I really want to hear is your thoughts on the app. So reach out through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and write in the review down below what you think of TikTok and if you would use it for your digital marketing. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take our first break from the podcast, but when we come back, we are going to be talking started today. This whole episode is about websites and tech products you can use to create digital marketing. So the first section that we're going to look at is 5 different websites you can use that is going to help you create the actual content. It's going to help you edit photos. It's going to help you find photos, and it is going to help you create really beautiful and engaging content for your audience. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll be right back. Do you want your IRA or 401k to be a part of the biggest wealth transfer in history? If you have a retirement account, you've likely invested in a mix of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. The tax benefits are extraordinary, yes, but if you wish that you had more investment options, you're not alone. Now, thanks to a little-known IRS tax law, you can convert your IRA or eligible 401k into cryptocurrency. Get all the growth potential of crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and more, with any gains coming on a tax-deferred basis. BitIRI has thousands of satisfied customers and has earned an A+ rating with the BBB. For a limited time, the folks at BitIRA are offering a free copy of their Essential Guide to Digital IRAs, which you can claim at bitira.com/technology. This free guide reveals everything to know about cryptocurrency in your IRA. Discover the tax benefits if your account is eligible, and how to make this move in 3 easy steps. Zero obligation to you to request this info. If you have over $20,000 in an IRA or 401k, see if diversifying your retirement savings into crypto makes sense for you. That's bitira.com/technology.
Do you work in the world of marketing and advertising? Are you a media buyer or the owner of an agency? Have you been looking for a podcast to help stay on top of all the goings-on of those worlds? The GSMC Marketing News Podcast is dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning marketing and advertising. Get the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast has you covered, whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at tech and websites that are going to help you create and export and organize your digital marketing. So the first section that we're going to take a look at is we're going to take a look at 5 different sites that are going to help you create the actual content that you want to be creating for your digital marketing. You know, we can take a look at data analytics, we can take a look at content management systems, and we can take a look at team organization systems. But at the end of the day, what are you going to post? If you don't have the content, nothing else matters. So what we're going to look at are 5 different sites that help you create really beautiful and engaging content that your audience will love. So the first one we're going to look at is Canva. So Canva is really interesting if you don't have a graphic designer on staff. So what Canva does is it cuts through, it's like the cheat sheet to having a graphic designer, because a graphic designer would probably want to use Photoshop. Canva sort of does everything Photoshop does, but in a really simple and straightforward way, so that if you don't know Photoshop and you don't know how to be a graphic designer, Canva will do it for you. It won't look as unique as something created on Photoshop. It might look a little generic. You might have to tweak it a little bit to make it right for your company, but you are able to do things like use your company logo, use your company colors, and use your company font. 3 things that I find are very, very important when creating content for your digital marketing. Basically, you can post anything online, but always make sure that it follows those 3 things. That way you can have a united brand that when anyone goes to look at your Instagram, go to look at your Facebook, go to look at your website, they see those 3 things and they start to recognize those 3 things as part of your brand and your organization. So Canva is really great for creating content that follows those 3 rules. The downside to Canva is that it does cost money. A lot of these sites, unfortunately, do cost money, but they're a whole lot cheaper than hiring a graphic designer. I mean, you don't have to pay Canva health benefits. So definitely consider Canva if you're not looking to create a whole graphic designer position at your company, because maybe your company's not ready for that or there's not really a need for that. Definitely consider Canva instead of the more expensive Photoshop and graphic designer route. Same with PicMonkey. PicMonkey is a little bit more expensive than Canva, but you can get a lot more personalized content on there. But you do need to know the system a little bit more. Basically, it's like Canva Plus. It's going to do everything that Canva does, but it's going to be able to make your content a little bit more specific, a little less generic, and a little bit more customizable for your company. I believe PicMonkey also does have an assistant on there that you can talk to in real time that will sort of help you find your way around the site and can kind of show you new ways to work on the site. And also, they're really great about creating content for their own Instagram, for their own Facebook. So if you want to get some inspiration, go check out the PicMonkey Instagram because they show you how to create really great and really beautiful pieces of content right on there through video. So definitely go check them out. Even if you're not thinking about using PicMonkey, it can be really great just to get some inspiration. The next one we're going to look at is Getty Images. So Getty Images is unlike Canva and PicMonkey in the way that you cannot customize the images at all. Basically, Getty Images and the next couple that we'll talk about, it's less about creating something original and more about finding something to create with. So I once had a mentor of mine say, find what you need and then change it to fit your needs. So get something to be 98% of what you want, and then you can customize it to make it the full 100%. And Getty Images is really great at getting you to that 90%. Say that you want an image of a student studying and they should be reading red books. Getty Images can find you the image of the student reading with red books, but you're going to have to add your logo on there. You're going to have to add your colors on there, your font, and all that. So Getty Images is very expensive, but it has the biggest collection of photos on any site, and I think it is totally worth it. However, you do need to be aware you subscribe to Getty Images, but every photo does also cost you money. So it's quite expensive, and so I think you really need to take a look at your digital marketing and at the content you're trying to create and do a pros and cons list of if paying for Getty Images is worth it. Because like I'm saying, it's great for finding images, but it's not going to have your logo on those images. So you're going to have to pay for Getty Images and Canva or PicMonkey. They all kind of go together. So definitely take a look at if your company is ready to invest in the type of content Getty Images can create for you. The next one is very similar to Getty Images, and it's two different sites, but they're so similar, I decided to put them on the same bullet point. It is unsplash.com and pexel.com. So both of those are free of copyright images that you can use without having to pay tribute to any of the people who took the photos. You can say thanks, and you can include their name if you want, but you don't have to. They're basically giving up their images to be used for stock usage. However, the one downside with this is that some of the images aren't great. Getty Images definitely has a better portfolio of images. Like I said, you can find a student reading red books. On Unsplash or Pexel, you might find a student reading a notebook, and that's it. You'll find one image that looks like that, and then you'll find 300 images of students holding oranges. So, it's a little bit pick and choose your own battle, but here's the thing. Unsplash and Pexel are free. Free to download all the images, free to use, free to subscribe to. So if you're thinking of maybe paying for PicMonkey because it's a little bit more extravagant and a little bit more of the way you want to go in the direction of your company, then maybe don't get Getty Images. Instead, look for your images on Unsplash and Pexel because you're already investing in the higher quality PicMonkey. So just definitely something to consider when taking a look at your digital marketing content and what direction you really want to go in, because PicMonkey is a lot more graphic design, whereas if you're looking just for stock images, invest in Getty Images because they are by far the best. The next and the final site that I want to talk about is Adobe. So Adobe, I have a love-hate relationship with Adobe. So I use the Adobe Premiere Suite to edit videos, to edit podcasts. I use Adobe Audition. I've used Adobe Photoshop. And those are all really great tools, and they're really efficient and effective, and they create the type of content I want to create. They're able to let me customize everything. But the thing is that I also went to school for 4 years where I had to use that every day, where I had instructors showing me how to use that every day. So I know how to create the level of content that I want. Yes, there are YouTube videos, and yes, there are blogs you can read to get you to that level. But if you don't have a graphic designer on staff and you don't have someone who is willing to put in the time to learn Adobe, it's not right for you. What I do want to suggest is Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark can give you really great images, similar to Getty, similar to Unsplash and Pexel, but it's almost like a meet in the middle because it costs money, but you pay for a subscription to get 10 images a month or something like that. That might not be exactly it, but it's something along those lines. And they're amazing images. They're amazing stock footage images. So I definitely recommend Adobe Spark if you're looking for sort of a middle ground between Getty Images and Unsplash and Pexels. If there's anything I want you guys to take away from the list of these top 5 content creation websites, is that the most important thing for your content is that it fits your brand and it fits the type of content you actually want to be creating. If you want to do something more that's graphic and a lot of flashy colors and doesn't really have any stock images, then take a look at PicMonkey and take a look at Adobe. If you're looking for really high-end quality stock images, then definitely Getty Images. And if you're looking for a combination of all of these things, maybe try Unsplash and Canva. Totally up to you guys. Totally up for debate on what your company needs. And honestly, if you're at a point in your company where this seems like it's a full-time job for someone to create content, hire the graphic designer. You will not regret it, and you will always thank them for the beautiful images they're able to create. I used to kind of be a graphic designer for a company that didn't have that position available, and then they brought someone in who actually was a professional graphic designer, and I was blown away with the type of stuff they were actually able to create. I was basically just taking images.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again. Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Your progress over the month, over the week, and over the year. I always talk about how much I love data, and it is so true, guys, because as marketers, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and thank you so much for joining me today. Before the break, we were talking about top 5 sites that you can use to create some beautiful content for your audience. So we talked about Canva, PicMonkey, Getty Images, Unsplash and Pexel, and Adobe. I know that's 6. I know how to count. But Unsplash and Pexel are the exact same sites, just with like maybe 1 or 2 different images, so I count them as 1. If you want free images of people holding fruit, go to Unsplash and Pexel. They're the same site. So now that we are back from our break, we are going to talk about data and analytics. So I know people were probably super jazzed when we were talking about content creation because that's the fun part of our job. Let's get real. It's super fun getting to look at really pretty images and getting to create really pretty images. And at the end of the day, when you put that final polish on a project, you get to go, wow, I'm so good at my job. People are going to love this. But here's the thing. You can say that out loud. You can go home and tell your husband that. You can call your mama and tell her that. But when they all go, well, how do you know? You can't say, oh, because it's really pretty. Oh, because it's really interesting to look at. No. That doesn't work. What you can say is, oh, because after we posted it, our audience grew 3% over a week. those are real facts that you can show people and you can tell people. I mean, I don't think your mother is going to care. And I don't think your husband or your wife, they're not going to care either. However, the people that are going to care are the people that you work with and the people you work for, or the people that you want to work for. So having data and analytics in your back pocket are so important because they can help you improve, they can help you change direction, and they can help show that your pretty images are actually doing the work that they were worth. So I'm going to go over the top 5 sites that I think are super helpful for measuring data analytics. Full disclosure, some of them cost money. And I know that that's sometimes a bummer because already measuring data and analytics sucks to begin with. So you probably don't want to have to pay just to look at numbers. But guess what? Paying to look at numbers is probably the best thing you're going to pay for all day. So let's talk about that. The first one is Sprout Social, and it's also by far probably the most expensive, but it creates the reports for you. So if you're somebody who has to go to meetings and talk about, well, our audience has grown 5% on Instagram this month, and you absolutely hate putting together the pie charts, you absolutely hate putting together the bar graphs and all that stuff, Sprout Social does it for you, and it makes it look really beautiful, and it makes it look really clean and concise. So the biggest issue I have with Sprout Social is that although it does look really pretty, the reports, and it does make things look very professional, some of the numbers they give you are vanity numbers. But there's a way around that, and I'm going to tell you the way around it because I want you guys to use Sprout Social if you're having to give monthly or weekly reports, because it just cuts all that nonsense out. You shouldn't have to make reports. That's ridiculous. So if you go into an editing tab, you can customize which analytics you actually want to look at. So depending on your company and depending on your role at the company, what you want to look at might change. But I want you to be aware of that there are vanity numbers out there. Facebook Insights are really, really bad at giving you vanity numbers, and I don't want you to have to look at that. If you're curious to learn more about vanity numbers and sort of how to avoid them and what they are, go listen to my Data and Analytics podcast. I talk about all of that and more for like 30 minutes straight. So definitely go check that one out. It is on the GSMC podcast network, so super easy to find. The next one is Buffer Analytics, and I'll be honest with you guys, I never want to lie to you. I have not used Buffer Analytics as much as I have used the other sites that I'm going to list. Buffer Analytics is very highly rated, and people seem to really, really like it, so maybe check it out. It does everything apparently that Sprout Social does. It generates reports for you. It keeps track of all your data, and you can hook it up to multiple platforms such as your Facebook, your Instagram, and your Twitter. So check it out and let me know if you use it and if you like it, because maybe I'll switch to using Buffer Analytics. So tweet me or message me on Instagram if you use Buffer and if you really like it. Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics is super interesting because it is really great for tracking your website growth. A lot of the ones I've talked about, you can track your website growth, but they're more for social media. So no matter what, I would always check your Google Analytics, even if you subscribe to Sprout Social and you're spending money over there. Google Analytics is free, and it's going to give you hard and fast numbers about where your company is getting their most traffic, because suddenly, what if all of your traffic's coming from India? You need to know that, and it's going to give you bounce rates on your website, how long people are staying on there, what page they're staying on for the longest, and how much time they're spending going through your content. All information you really, really need to know about your website, so I highly recommend going and checking them out. The next one we're going to talk about is Clicky. Clicky is really big in the blogging world, and a lot of people seem to really like using it, and they seem to really like having to pay for it, which sounds weird, but it only is like $10 a month, or you could go up to the $70 a month, but a lot of people just stick with the $10 because it does give them all of the information they need. It gives you facts about how long people are staying on your website, and kind of the same stuff Google Analytics does. However, it will give you an actual report, like I'm saying Sprout Social does, and it'll make it all pretty and nice. And who doesn't like reports that are pretty and nice. I'll tell you who. I had a boss who hated them. But that doesn't matter. Honestly, it's a really cool site, and having pretty reports is super handy for maybe you, and you can then turn them into a hard number report that can be a little bit more digestible for people who don't like pretty reports. The next one we're going to talk about is Bitly. So Bitly might be known as the free link shorter. So if you've ever used any content management system that it's like, this link is really long, why don't you click it and make it shorter? They have now expanded their business from doing that to creating actual reports for you. And it goes really into a lot of small and precise numbers, which is really nice because not a lot of analytics do that. But it'll tell you how many clicks you got on a day, in an hour, how many people are looking at your site over a 24-hour period, and it counts it all down by which date, which month, and all that fun stuff. And it does also generate a report for you because, guys, if there's one thing I don't want you doing, I don't want anyone listening to this podcast to ever have to create a freaking pie chart. That's not your job. There are systems out there that do it for you, so let the systems do it, okay? It is not your job. Your job is just simply to tell people what the pie chart means. So all of these sites make pie charts for you. Some of them cost money. Some of them make really ugly pie charts, but all of them do make the pie chart. So definitely check out these 5 sites next time you're having to create a report. And a lot of them have free trials so that you can maybe test out which one you like better. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and take another break from the podcast, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about top 5 CMS, which is content management systems that you should be using to organize and send out all of your content, because a lot of what we've been talking about is creating your content and measuring your content, but what you really need to know is how to send it out and how to know where it's sending out of and where it's coming from. Okay, everyone, that is it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Technology Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jakewish, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.